Joining me now on DIRTRACKR Conversations, open wheel racer Clinton Boyles. Clinton, you just got back from the Chili Bowl. I guess let's start with, your specific week, how it went for you. I know it didn't end up how you wanted it to end up, but it seemed like you guys were really fast every time you were on the track.
Yeah, I felt like our whole team, had a lot of speed, and I just, I got impatient on my qualifying night, and I was running, I think, fifth there, and tried to make a big move on Carson Macedo for fourth, and it didn't quite work out. Then I got stuck racing, and then I got involved in, an incident, and that was the end of the night. So it can definitely, downhill spiral quickly, and then. On Saturday we were kind of coming through the mains and got caught up in someone else's mess again. So you just got to be perfect, and it didn't quite, work out for me this year, but Parker Price Miller, my teammate, another World of Outlaw guy, had a good run going, and just I felt like didn't quite have the car speed to be, top 2-3 on his prelim night, and then come Saturday, got caught up in someone's mess. So that's just kind of how it goes. But it was cool to work with Parker and Nick Hoffman, a modified guy, coming in and trying his hand at it, and I think this was my first weekend with those guys essentially being in charge of everything, coming off of, changing teams. And so I felt really good about the car speed we had. My crew chief is 19 years old. And, for him and I to work together and come out of the box like we did, I feel really good about the summer.
When you are, there's a lot of things about the week I want to get into, but with your Rams team, when you're not on track, how much work are you doing kind of in between helping get cars turned around and talking to the guys about setups? Like, what does that kind of look like on a night, on a nightly basis when you have someone that's running on your team and you're not racing?
It's 100% me. I'm kind of the guy in the shop, and even before this Rams racing deal, the RMS team that I was with Thomas Meserol, it was me and maybe one or two other guys in the shop 100% of the time. So I've kind of just gotten accustomed to being the guy that does all the work and building race cars, and really building those baseline setups and trying to expand on that and fine tune everything. So coming into this Rams racing deal, I kind of I leaned on Justin Grant a lot from kind of his past setup notes, and just trying to get an idea of where we'd need to be ballpark wise. And he was really helpful. And I'm thankful for that. And I think that was huge. So, throughout the week, it's 100% me. And when Parker was racing, I'd say it was a lot me, but AJ too. AJ, for as young as he is, he's worked with a lot of good teams, and he was really instrumental in, doing things on the cars, even though I was in the booth, right? So I'm texting AJ, I'm in the announcer's booth, and we're going back and forth, and essentially he's got the final call, I guess. So if he could say, screw you, I'm not gonna do what you say. I'm gonna do what I think's best. But we get along really well, and I think that's why we mesh so good, and just clicked right out of the gate.
I definitely want to talk about your time in the booth, but for somebody that's been to Chili Bowl as many times as you have now, and kind of when you go year to year, and even like kind of, as you switch teams or whatever, how different are the setups of the race cars year to year? I mean, does the track really change much from year to year, as you kind of bring the same basic package every time?
I felt like this year was as different as it's ever been. I felt like guys were kind of searching the whole time. But year to year, you usually come in pretty close. I've never came with the same car twice. So, going from different Spike chassis to a Boss chassis to Stealth, it's all just a little bit different. But midgets are pretty simple in the fact that, if you get your cross percentages right and kind of your weights right, then you're going to be at least in the ballpark. And from there, you can tune it if you know what you're doing. So, and that kind of goes back to just learning over the last couple of years, being teammates with Justin Grant, and, teammates throughout the summer with Thomas Meserol, get to work with Donnie Gentry. I learned a lot and learned where we need to be on race cars to kind of just make them fast. And I was able to, go into that kind of with this same mentality, and it all worked out. So it's just, I think once whoever you are, once you kind of know that setup, that baseline, right, you can be good inside that building, because it doesn't really change much.
One of the things I feel like, and with you being able to be in the booth a lot this last week or so, one of the things that always is interesting to see is like the different kind of configurations of cars and different body panels and all of these different things. And like, I feel like this year, all of a sudden now we're seeing these body panels like behind the drivers. And then, you saw guys like Christopher Bell, who like basically ran like no left side body panels. And I'm wondering, like, does that stuff like really help with aero? Is that like setup stuff? Like with Bell, was that more of a vision thing? Like when you look around the building and look at some of that stuff, like what are your impressions of that?
To me, it's whatever makes you feel the best as a driver, right? Like I know some guys like the left side door and the right side, closed up pretty good because you almost feel like you're in an army tank, right? And like your vision is just straightforward. That's all you're focused on. You're not worried about what's going on around you. But I think somebody like Bell is probably, can be a little bit more in tune with what's going on around him and still be focused on what he needs to be doing. So he likes to have that additional information, just from being able to visually see stuff. But as far as like aerodynamics or anything like that, I don't think there's really any benefit to any of it, and we even talked about like lightweight cars. We see everybody build these crazy lightweight chili bowl cars, and I just don't know that it's 100% necessary anymore because our engines are so good these days that we can pull a little bit of extra weight around if it means your car is not going to break on the slightest contact. So the body game and the weight game, I think we're getting ready to see probably a turn down at Chili Bowl and all that, to where we don't have to have all these weird goofy body panels, and we don't have to have every single lightweight piece you can buy, and it's just kind of a different time. But it is cool to see how creative guys get on stuff like that, and Chili Bowl, we definitely see some wild designs and wild bodies, and I think that's what's really cool about it, is there's no real rules, I guess you could say, and people can get as creative as they want to.
When you are getting ready now for kind of, outdoor season or whatever, like how different are the cars from Chili Bowl to outdoor season? Are you really changing a lot of things? Are you really going to switch out body panels? And I know the tires and some of the other things are different, but what really needs to happen now to get you guys ready for Florida?
So the biggest thing for us is tires and wheel width. So we go Chili Bowl, we do 10-inch wide left rears and 12-inch wide right rears. And outdoors, we can only run a 10-inch wide right rear and an 8-inch left rear. So we got to, change our wheels around and rebuild those. And then other than that, it's not a whole lot different. Maybe a different shock package. And that's just, that kind of changes track to track. But it's just for us, it's not much. It's just, wheels, tires, and just going through the car and making sure it's still, all good from Chili Bowl. So we didn't completely tear our cars down before Chili Bowl. We were pretty confident with where they were, heading into it. So I'll probably do a little more thorough tear down here before Florida, and just kind of make sure everything's ready to go and see what happens.
This year was like the first year that I've like really watched the shootout. Like I've, working for the Outlaws and doing the things that I did with Ross and, with us bringing him to the, to the Chili Bowl in whatever, 2017 or 2018, I've known about the Chili Bowl, but the shootout was kind of this like on the periphery thing. And this year with it being on Flow, I finally like sat down and like watched a bunch of it. And like one of the things that really stood out to me was like you being in the booth. And I'm curious how that deal came together. And, is that something you've done a lot before? Cause like, I mean, you killed it all week long.
Oh, thank you. No, that actually kind of started on a weird deal like 4 years ago. I locked into a 3-day race when I was racing the War Sprints back in Missouri. It was the Hockett Memorial Race, and Scott Traylor, the owner of Racing Boys, asked me to come up in the booth and just talk a little bit throughout some of the non-lock-in heat races and stuff like that. And I think it went over well. And he asked me to come down to Shootout. I was racing that year, and just stop by in the booth if you get some time, hang out with us, and we'd love to get your perspective on things. And from there it kind of snowballed. So I guess this was like my third year kind of doing it full time for the Shootout, and it's just it's something I really enjoy doing, just a different aspect of what I do. And I think as far as the racing side of it, I love to hit every single different thing I can. I've been an infield crew worker before when I have a weekend off at my local micro track, and just I try to see all sides of our sport, because I think, you can learn from it. And at some point, we're not all going to be drivers anymore. So, if I can find something within racing that I can do and decent at, then I think that's cool. So, maybe this announcing thing will take off one day and I can do something a little bit different.
I think that's one of the things that really, it added to the shootout broadcast. And then the same thing with the Chili Bowl with you and kind of Kevin Swindell swapping out through the week when you guys were available. It really brings something extra to the broadcast. And I know you guys are kind of in a weird position over there, like where that booth is.
Yeah.
Like, are you able to, like, how much are you really able to see from that booth? And then how much are you trying to pay attention to like what's actually happening on the monitors?
So a lot of what we do is the monitor. I mean, it's kind of tough to see from where we're at. This year was a little bit better than normal. Just the position of our booth changed. And I think it was like 6 inches higher. So it was a little bit better. But I spend a lot of my time trying to I actually stand on the chair they give me to sit in, and try to watch the races and the racetrack, and then keep an eye on the monitor since I'm not, the main call guy. So I try to keep an eye on what's going on, but it's tough to see down there sometimes, and you definitely miss some of what's going on. And luckily we do have two monitors in there to keep an eye on everything that they're showing on TV, and we can try and relay that to the fans.
How much like research are you doing in advance of that? Are you trying to run around through the building beforehand to try to get, to try to talk to guys and see what's going on through the day? And then like, I know you guys are kind of, it seemed like you were getting text messages and tweets a lot kind of through the night with other information. Like how much does that happen also as you're in it?
So I'm bad. I should do more research going into this. I'm super lazy. But luckily I'm in pretty good with Brian Walker at Walkipedia, and a couple other group messages that are super involved in the micro racing deal down there. So I'm getting pretty live time updates through them and on what's going on and stuff like that. But my Brian Ward, Caleb, they do a good job of going out before the races and kind of getting some of that pre-information that just kind of covers general topics. And then luckily I have those connections to kind of bring live time updates, that we can't go handle outside the booth. So just, Walkipedia is the main one. He's on top of it, and he wasn't even there this year, and he knew what was going on before anyone else. So that's, luckily we have those outlets.
Well, one of my favorite things through the week is with having you guys in that booth, you guys end up seeing things that the fans at home don't see and understand. And then like even the other announcers in the booth, like don't see and understand. And like a couple of examples is like Swindell talking about, I think it was Kaylee Bryson or Holly Holland. Maybe it was Holly Holland, her car, like locking up into turn one, like she jumped on the brakes hard and then the engine quits and she just kind of slides off. He notices that, then breaks it down. And I feel like one of the big moments of the week is Daniel Robinson with his finger out the window, flipping off Sammy. And it was like, you were the first one to say something about that. And like, I'm curious, like, is it like, how are you watching the race differently than we're watching the race? Like, what are you looking for? What are you trying to see when you actually watch a race?
I don't know. I guess, maybe when you're the primary announcer, you're just kind of calling the general flow of the race. And that allows me to kind of sit there and watch a little bit more of the specifics that's going on. Or, maybe I'm just kind of, being a racer in my head, I'm predicting and seeing the flow before it happens a little bit. And so I can kind of double check myself and make sure that happens on a more fine tooth note. So there's I don't know, it's just something, I guess, that being a driver, you see and you recognize better than somebody that maybe hasn't done it as long as Kevin or I has. But I guess like, I felt like every year there's one big thing that, kind of goes on that we call or see. Like this year, I don't know if you were watching, but Christopher Bell half spun in one of the non-wing features, running second, trying to throw a slider on the leader. Like I picked up on, he had got up on the berm and accidentally hit his brake at the wrong time, whether it's because his foot bounced or what. And that's what half spun him on the slider and kind of cost him the whole race. And it's just little things like that, I feel like having our experience, we kind of know what that feels like being in the race car, and we can kind of, translate that out to the fans, as opposed to someone that's just trying to look at it and decipher what happened in that moment.
Seeing it from all of the different sides that you got to see the Chili Bowl this year, I guess I'm curious your overall kind of impressions of this year's Chili Bowl. I know we had kind of that weird night with the track rubbering and Larson, leading all of the laps. Like I certainly didn't expect Larson to dominate, on Saturday night the way he did. And, but when you kind of look back, what are things that are going to stand out to you about this last year's Chili Bowl?
I think the biggest thing, first and foremost, is like the limited capacity. I know a lot of people that watched online maybe didn't realize how limited it was, just because it looked like the stands were fairly full, but every other row was blocked off. So if the stands were half full, well, then you cut it in half again, and that's about your 25%. And that was huge back in the pit area. I mean, normally we're trying to push up to staging, and the fans are looking at you like you're in their way, and what the heck are you doing trying to push a race car through here? And so it's just little things like that from, a driver standpoint that I'm going to remember and enjoy about this one. But from the fan side of it, you missed out on having that little bit of adrenaline rush just from walking in the building and knowing that the energy in the building is going to be next level today. And, especially Friday, Saturday, it's just, you didn't quite have that high energy intensity feeling those final days that normally do. So that was kind of a bummer on that end, especially for some of the people that did it for their first time down there. And I felt like this year had potential to be the, most widely covered Chili Bowl yet. This is my 22nd Chili Bowl. So I've seen pretty much everything. And this one could have been big, but I think next year will be even bigger for sure.
When you kind of look at the feature on Saturday night, and you know, I talked about, you know, Larson there, you know, we saw him on his prelim night. He was good, he was fast, he won. But like, you know, watching him in the Virock and some of the other stuff, like it just didn't seem like he had the pace of some of the other guys. And I'm wondering on Saturday, like, do you think that him and Paul made big adjustments to that car to make it better? Or do you think like that, you know, the way the track went and the clean air that he had was just enough for him to stay out front of Bell and Grant?
I think I think it was the track and clean air more than anything. You know, I think on his prelim night, Timez was faster than he was. He could set a better pace around the top side and just couldn't capitalize because of the way the track was. You know, Kyle maybe just ran a little bit smarter race or had the position when he needed it. So I think, you know, if that first start goes on Saturday where Grant gets the jump and, you know, he'd put a half straightaway on Kyle before, you know, we got the lap in, and it was like, wow, he is fast. I think it's a different story if Grant gets the jump, and they're going to at least have to race for it really hard. I don't know if Grant could have held him off in the late stages of that deal, or even Bell maybe, but it would have been a lot different when you get Kyle and Christopher racing for second when Grant's your leader, trying to, you know, just get away and pick through traffic. But that clean area is huge. The way the track played out, you know, we didn't really have our 25 laps around the bottom. It kind of moved up fairly quick and got really ledged up. And then the bottom was super narrow for some reason. So we were just pretty much locked in. And as long as Kyle didn't make a mistake on the cushion, he was going to be really, really tough to beat. It's just hard to clear somebody with a slide job when you're driving it in that fast and that hard, and, you know, it's sticking for everybody. So just a, you know, a different track. But I think that's why him and Bell mainly are always so good, is because they can adapt to whatever track we get, you know, in that instant and just be mistake free on something like that.
I think, you know, and I mentioned this on my daily show on Monday, but like, I felt like Bell's, you know, kind of incident was like almost like desperation, right? Like he just, like he was trying to make something big happen because he knew that he was going to have to get really close and try, you know, throw a big move. Like, do you feel that same way from your kind of driver perspective?
Yeah, I do. And I felt like he was trying to get a really good run through 3 and 4, because most of Kyle's little mistakes that he had made came in turn 1. So if he was going to throw a side job and have a shot at clearing him, it needed to be in turn 1. So he was trying to run a hero 3 and 4 to, you know, have that big momentum side job into turn 1 and hope for something to happen. But yeah, I mean, it was, you know, you were coming to the white flag there. I think we were 2 laps to go.
One or two to go there.
Yeah. And so, you know, he knows it's now or never. And he's not going to settle for second place, right? You know, he's here to win. So it was cool to see him lay it on the line from my perspective, and, you know, every other fan's perspective. He's not going to just take it easy and not chance, you know, wrecking the car. So, but I do agree. I think it was a little bit of a last second effort to try and make something happen that maybe wasn't there, and it just, you know, didn't pan out for him.
How treacherous is that, like, kind of curb when it builds up like that? It seems like, you know, kind of gets to be like a couple inches tall, and guys are kind of able to lay the right rear on it. But man, it's like if you make one tiny little mistake, it goes bad real fast.
It's just, yeah, it's really hard because you can't cheat it at all, right? If you cheat it and slide into it, that's when you're really in trouble. And so you do have to hit it with wheel spin, but it's such a fine line on what's too much wheel spin to get you sideways to where it tosses the nose over, you're spinning out, or, you know, are you too straight? Not enough wheel spin. And it's just a feel thing, but man, it's so difficult to do. And, you know, I kind of found that on Monday night, on my prelim night. We had a big cushion like that too. And it was about 6-8 inches tall, and it was enough to eat you up if you didn't know what you were doing. And so it's man, you have to be absolutely perfect on that. And to like watch those guys be perfect for 55 laps is crazy. That's you know, I think that's one of my biggest deals that holds me back is, you know, limiting my mistakes. And I think that's 95% of the drivers inside that building just need to limit their mistakes, and they'd be really good. So that's, you know, Kyle and Christopher, obviously next level. They have a better feel for their car, I think, than most of us do, and just, you know, are so much more precise than we can be because they, you know, are just perfect.
Watching the races in there, and it's like one of the things that I really like about the midgets, and, you know, kind of coming from, you know, a short track asphalt background, it seems like contact and guys kind of beating and banging happens a little more on the asphalt side. But that's like one thing with the midgets that you do get for whatever reason. Like it seems like you guys just don't care about like beating the crap out of each other, and like especially at Chili Bowl when you got heat races and qualifiers like where you've got to go. But like when you get smashed into like that, like are you like pissed in the car? Because like I don't know how you couldn't be. Like I know I would be wanting to like spin everyone out if I got wrecked.
Yeah, no, it's super tough to control your emotions, for sure. And like, that's something I talked to Kyle about a lot one night after the races. I was like, I struggled with that a little bit. I got racing Chris Wyndham really hard, and that's how I put myself in a bad spot with Carson Macedo on that side job, and that was, cost me. I'm like, how do you keep your head so well about you? And he's like, you just got to take each corner for each corner, and nothing before, nothing after, right? And we were talking about in the Vyrock race when Thorson threw that
Yeah.
big old side job on him, on his prelim night. It's like, holy cow. I was like, dude, how did you not, you picked up your game a little bit, but how did you not just lose your mind and want to go track him down or, shut it down or whatever you do? It's like, just, take each corner for what it's worth, go on to the next one and try and be really good that corner. So there's just little mental cues that you can go through, I guess, and, check yourself and, reevaluate whatever situation you're in and try and be better the next corner. And I think that's the hardest part, because it is really easy when someone runs into you or you make a mistake to lose your head and let it snowball into something more than it never should have been.
When you kind of get done with one of those situations, whether it's a feature or heat race or whatever, like I know you're probably friends with a lot of guys, but I know that there's other guys that you're not cool with. But like, how often, if somebody does something like that, like, do you go say something? You're like, hey man, like that was bullshit. Like, do you do that, or you're just like, whatever, it is what it is?
I guess so. Me, not very often. I guess I'm a little more old school, and I think I made a tweet about this at some point. Someone being a chihuahua or something, just going and yelling. But I'm a little more old school. Like if I'm gonna walk down to your trailer and I'm gonna say something, I'm walking down with probably the intentions of this is probably gonna turn into a fist fight. So like I almost never walk down, right? Because that's not me. But um, I just hate. There's pointless for somebody to go down and yell and yell and yell and cause a scene, and it's just not needed, right? I guess it's a little bit of drama, whatever, but that's not me. If you're gonna walk down and we're gonna yell, let's do something about it. If not, it's not that big a deal. Don't worry about it. Just go on with your day.
I'm curious too. The one of the big stories about Saturday was McDougal's run. Obviously, for him to go as far along as he did, and keep coming from the back to the front, and then for it to have it go sideways with him and Bernal making contact like that. It felt like Bernal all of a sudden was like the most hated guy in the building and the most hated guy on social media. And it's like, I know he's like not that kind of guy, but as you watched that, like, what were your kind of feelings about how that kind of played out?
Yeah. So I was watching the back of the trailer and it was like, oh no, you just have that gut feeling that like that went bad really fast.
Yeah.
And like you said, Bernal's not that kind of guy. We never see him drive through anyone or, even when he's racing on the West Coast, it's just not somebody that wrecks people. So like, I'm sure that wasn't his intentions, but you're not going to walk down and tell McDougal that and never convince him that, you didn't mean to. You're supposed to be good enough to have enough car control that you don't make a mistake like that, especially in that situation. Right. And earlier in that race, I was racing with Jason and I knew what kind of run he had going. It's like the last thing I want to do is be the guy that takes out Jason McDougal inside this building when he's having a run like that. Like that's his home turf. So I felt terrible for Jason. We used to live together and I know we talked before that race how much fun he was having, running up through there. So that was hard to see, I think, for everybody, more than Jason. And I think Jason handled it really well, not blowing it up any bigger than it needed to be. And that speaks a lot about Jason, I think.
When you're kind of in one of those situations on Saturday where you're trying to go mains, like, do you have to look at those races differently? It's like, I feel like it's kind of weird that you kind of have to be aggressive, but almost like a little bit patient at the same time. But like, how do you kind of approach those situations?
I don't know. It's super weird, right? Because I think 3 years ago, I passed 51 cars. I went through 5 mains on Saturday too, and something about it just starts flowing, and you don't know what it is. You start getting in a rhythm, and I think Jason feels the same way. They were interviewing him, and they asked him, do you need a break? He's like, no, I just want to keep going. And you kind of get that mojo about you, right? And a little swagger, and you roll out saying, I'm going to pass all these guys. And I don't know that you race any different than maybe you normally would. It just something, at the start of that run falls your way and you start feeling confident. And, I think that's the biggest thing, is just being really confident in your car and yourself. And that's huge the whole week, just walking in that building saying, I'm better than everyone else in here. And I'm going to go, beat them. So I think you get that confidence about you, especially after you probably had a bad prelim night, and then things, can really start to go well for you.
We've seen, Brian Walker with his Walkerpedia account talking a lot about the like rookie situation inside the Chili Bowl and whether we need to like turn Monday into some sort of rookie night and all of that. Like, do you have
Yeah.
opinions on that? Do you agree with that? Like, what do you think?
Um, yeah, so they used to have a rookie night, and I enjoyed it. I felt like it kind of weeded out some of the guys that maybe shouldn't be there, that just show up to run a race car for the first time or a midget for the first time and don't really have any experience. And it keeps the guys that probably deserve to have a chance at the prelim night, right? And I'm a fan of the rookie night idea, or at least having some sort of requirement, because there are guys. I think we saw it with Stenhouse there,
Yeah.
where somebody had never been in a midget, didn't and not hating on that guy at all, but man, that's a big stage to put yourself on, especially starting front row, knowing that you don't really know what's going to happen come turn one and take out somebody like Ricky's night. And luckily Ricky was able to rebound, but dude, it's just I would never want to be that guy, right? And I guess maybe I look at it different, but Chili Bowl is such a big deal to so many people. Why would you want to be that guy that comes in and runs it? So maybe a rookie night's not a terrible idea to kind of weed out some of the people. And last year we were up at 360, 370 car count, and that's just so many. And with 50, 60, that's those guys being rookies. If we could get rid of half of those, even, they kind of lower our car counts back down and bring it back to something just a little bit more normal, and not have to worry about some of that silly stuff that can go on.
As you, kind of look back on the week, are there drivers that impressed you? Are there guys that you felt like stood out, with performances either on prelim nights or on Saturday?
Ooh, I feel like I've watched so much racing in the last 2 weeks now between Shootout and Chili Bowl. It's hard to pick, any one person out, or even a couple, and be like, wow, he was really good. I think, one that stands out for me was Jacob Denny, just because he was on my night, and he went out and beat Wyndham and I in our qualifier, I think, and had a good run in the feature. But he races back in Indiana in the D2 stuff, I believe, a little bit. So I kind of knew who he was and kind of knew that he had some potential there. But dude, I've watched so much race, and I don't know that I can call a single guy out.
Now that we're past Chili Bowl, like what's next, for you and the Rams team? Like, what are your kind of plans for the season?
So we're gonna run kind of a limited schedule. We're not gonna run any USAC points or power points. Just hit and miss some of the big races around the country, and travel a little bit. And I think we're also gonna kind of have a random second car, maybe even third car, that we throw some guys in throughout the year, along with myself. So, we're right now we're in the middle of trying to switch shops and get all that stuff done. And then I think we're not planning on Florida at the moment. We're probably going to head to Port City in March and start the season off there. And as far as I know right now, we'll have a second driver. Just can't quite announce that yet, but just stuff like that. So we'll go hit fun races throughout the year. We'll throw somebody in the car that we think needs a shot, deserves a shot. See what they can do, see if they can earn it, and go from there. There's been during Chili Bowl, after Chili Bowl, they've already gotten so many phone calls. Rick and Jeff have our owners about people wanting to drive. I think there was a little bit of doubt going into that on not having Justin there, who kind of ran the whole team, how things were going to go. And they see obviously that Rick and Jeff still have an incredible team, and have some good people involved with them, and we have the ability to be fast. So I think there's a lot of interest in the Rockwell Rams security guy, or Rockwell Security Rams Racing guys right now.
When you are going to set that schedule, are you looking for high-paying races? Or are there just certain racetracks you like to go race at? Like, how are you going to make those decisions?
So yeah, I mean, money is a little bit of it, but obviously there's just not a ton of money in midget racing at this point. I think there's a lot of guys making good efforts to change that, and but our guys like to run for prestige, right? So like the Hangtown 100 is kind of a new race, but it's a really cool race that's already, I feel like, special to win. So we're going to go run that out at the end of the year. Obviously the BC 39 is a huge race that, if you win it, that's a really cool deal. And then, you throw in midget week, maybe power rise speed week, stuff like that. So just the kind of the prestigious races throughout the year that we can run, kind of the speed week deals. And then, maybe a couple more tune-up races before some of those big races, just to kind of make sure we're fresh and ready to go.
Are we going to see you in a sprint car at all this year?
Yeah, no, I'll definitely be in a sprint car this year. What sprint car I'll be in, I'm not 100% sure. I have a Wing 410 car that I own, and I will be in it, throughout the summer. Just catching races here or there when time allows, but trying to put together a couple other things to run, some more Wing 360 stuff potentially, and then even, back of the non-wing stuff some. So it'll be a little bit different year as far as schedule goes for me, and not just running, local Indiana stuff every weekend. But I will definitely be in a sprint car throughout the summer, running around the country.
I know this is always a dangerous question, but do you have a favorite of these between wing, non-wing, and the midget?
Um, right now the midget's my favorite, man. I had so much fun, this summer racing for the RMS guys and just getting to be in a midget from first time all year. I never really ran midgets before this, and so I learned a lot. And they're so exciting to race. And like you said, you're not afraid to go out there and kind of bump and lean on people to an extent, and just race so hard. And I think they're the most competitive car right now. But other than that, if I had to pick wing or non-wing, I think I'm going wing sprint car. It's just there's something about it and the way you have to race and the air is huge, and little things like that I think is just really cool. I love the technical side of it more than just kind of stack up and drive it in deeper than the next guy like you do in the non-wing racing.
If I remember correctly, I think you're you're a little bit of a taller guy, right? You're like 6'1", 6'2", something like that.
Yeah, 6'2".
Do you fit well in a midget?
I do not. No, I fit horribly in a midget. But there's just there's a few things we can do. Like we cut our seat bar out and move it down and forward a little bit to try and drop me in the car. But room is a premium for me in a midget. It's tough, and we kind of fought that getting ready for Chili Bowl because we didn't have enough time to make some of the adjustments we needed to do. But it's yeah, that's tough. Getting comfortable in any race car is kind of tough for me, and I think that's why I've done more sprint car stuff in the past, just because I can't get comfortable in a car, and that's a huge factor.
Well, one of the things I was going to ask you about before that I forgot that I want to not, forget to ask you about here is Hoffman, him
Yeah.
running the throttle with his hand in that race. Like how is that possible? And for him, just miss out on a transfer by one, is that something, you've heard of before? Like how many guys in those situations you think would have just pulled off?
Well, no, I've never heard of that before. And I think probably 95% of open wheel racers would have just pulled off. But I think Hoffman just kind of has that, I don't know, a different mentality. And I don't know if it's because he's a modified late model guy or he just really wanted to race, but he had a different mentality to reach down there and try and fix it at first, realize he wasn't going to be able to fix it. And then, just adapt and do the best he can because, every position matters there. So that's pretty cool. I love getting to work with Nick. He's a lot of fun, and he brings a lot of knowledge to the team, even if it's some of the stuff he knows from the modified late model stuff that we can apply to what we're doing. So it was cool to get to work with Nick. He'll be back in the car this summer some, and looking forward to racing with him throughout the summer and getting him a little better shot at Chili Bowl. I felt like on my end, maybe in the shop a little bit, I shortcut him on not catching something like that throttle linkage not being proper, and just little stuff like that can run your Chili Bowl. So he'll have a better shot at it this summer, next year, and that'll be a lot of fun to watch.
When you get opportunities like that to have, a guy like Parker Price Miller, who's, a World of Outlaws wing guy, and then you've got Hoffman on the other side, who's a modified guy, can you learn things from those guys as a week goes on like that?
A little bit, yeah. I felt like they were leaning on me a lot, just trying to figure out the midget stuff. But I can learn stuff because they like a little different feel out of the car, and maybe that works better for the car in those situations. That I might not be as comfortable driving, but if it makes more speed, that's what we got to do. So, Parker doesn't like the car super laid right, just from the wing experience. So he we figured out a balance where the car could be more stable, but still try and carry speed, which is kind of the opposite of what I've had. I like a little more unstable car, I guess, that feels more locked down on the track. So there's stuff like that. And then, Hoffman, we learned a lot of tire stuff, how to groove tires, how to grind tires and stuff like that. That's, we can apply. I think the open wheel guys are about light years behind the fender guys on, shocks and tire work and stuff like that, we can really start doing our homework on and, find a little bit of speed there.
Cool. Well, I'll let you go. Where can fans keep up with you if they want to follow you, see what you got going on this year?
Yeah, man. Twitter's the main thing. It's Clinton Boyles 98 on Twitter, and give me a follow on there. And that's where most of my updates come from. I guess obviously on Facebook too, but Facebook gets a little overwhelming sometimes. So Twitter's the main one.
Cool. Well, Clinton, we appreciate the time today, and good luck this season.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on.